All right, so at the end of chapter 4 of Esther, they are now getting ready. She says, if I perish, I perish. I'm going to go into the king's court. And if he doesn't extend the scepter to me, that means I'm going to die. But you know what? I'm going to do this so that we can save the entire Jewish race. So she dresses up in the beginning of chapter 5 in her royal robe and dresses up as pretty as she can be and goes and stands in the king's court. Now, understand, this was a life or death moment. I mean, if he just looked at her and then didn't want to talk to her, boom, she was dead. But he extends the golden scepter to her, and I'm sure there was this, oh, as she goes forward. But so she goes forward, she talks with the king, and the king says, what is it that you want? Up to half the kingdom I'll give you. And she says, let me prepare a banquet, and I would ask that you and Haman would be there to enjoy this banquet. So the king says, yeah, absolutely. So Haman goes home, and on his way out, he notices that Mordecai again doesn't bow to him. And so he goes home and he gathers all of his friends and his wife, and he's telling them of all of his riches and everything that he has and everything that he owns, and that he was the only one invited to the banquet with the king the next day. And, he was super pumped about this. And he says, but all of it means nothing because Mordecai still will not bow to me. And so his wife says, let a gallows, where they hang people, let a gallows be made 50 cubits high for Mordecai to be hanged on. 50 cubits high. That's 75 feet. Do you think that's a little bit of overkill, right? I mean, that might just be a little bit of overkill, no pun intended. But I mean, it is seriously 75 feet tall. And so Haman commands his servants to go ahead and build this gallows. Well, the application of chapter 5 is this. Number one, when you do figure out, when you do realize what God's purpose for your life is, such as, with Esther, that this is her time to go into the king and try and save the Jewish race. She didn't just walk into the king and hey, I'm here. She gets dressed up. She makes herself pretty. She displays wisdom and discernment in following the path that God has for her. When God called me to preach at 16, I didn't just walk into a pulpit the next day and say, now hear ye, right? There had to be preparation for what God wanted me to actually do. If you want to be an air traffic controller, you don't just walk into the air tower and start telling planes where to go. You have to prepare for these things. So wisdom says, no matter what God's called me to do, and no matter what his purpose for me is, I will use wisdom and discernment in following that path to do it to the best of my ability. But then also with Haman, his hatred for this man who would not show him. So his pride is driving his hatred to want to kill a man just because he's not bowing down to him. And I would say there are people that struggle with pride so much that if somebody shames you or somebody dishonors you, that you honestly would have thoughts of harming that person because they've dishonored you. And the point of Haman's thing is, we're going to see next time, it doesn't work out in his best favor. So what I would say to you application-wise for the application of Haman today is this. If you struggle with anger, if you struggle with pride, it is time to yield that. It's time to give that to God and say, you know what? Your purpose for my life certainly does not include attitudes like this.